Well, hi, I'm Noah Bradley with Handmade House TV, and on this week's episode, I'd like to share with you 3 small houses. I think that there are secrets, keys, and treasures within each that will help us better achieve our dream home in the future. So stay tuned. Well, all right, let's get started. If you've been following along on Handmade House TV, you know that I'm on a slow path toward achieving my next dream home. And one of the early steps that we take in the process is finding that ideal piece of land. And when we're out there, we can discover a lot about land and also learn things about what our future home might be. And one of the things that I have found throughout my career are mistakes, are problem houses that others have built, and from them I learn things. I've made my share of mistakes. I've built one home in my early days that I regretted building, and it's no secret that we learn the most from our mistakes, but I can tell you from experience that it's a lot better to learn from other people's mistakes than from our own. It's a lot less painful. And so here recently, in looking for my dream piece of land, I encountered 3 different homes, all of them small, all of them within a couple of 100 feet of each other, built about the same time, and each has a different story to tell. And on this week's episode, I'd like to share those 3 houses with you. The first of these 3 houses was a house that I like to think of as a hippie house. It was cutting edge for its time. The folks that built it were obviously trying to build something unique and different, something that would blend into the woods. But as you can see, they used some rather poor quality materials. They made the mistake of siding it with sheathing, sheathing being a layer that you would put in between the framing and the siding, and they were counting on the sheathing acting as an exterior siding, and obviously it didn't hold up very well over time. And then they built the house on pressure treated post, a pier foundation, which is a type of foundation that I do not recommend. The wind tends to whip under here, animals get underneath here. You're destined to have cold floors for the rest of your life, and I invite you to visit the Handmade House TV episode on pier foundations if you want to learn more about the problems and issues that come with that. I think that's episode 6 of the Handmade House series. And then as we continue to walk around the house, you can see that this side is also suffering greatly from exposure to the elements. And you notice that there's even a window or 2 blown out, and the doors are wide open, and we can take a peek inside of the window, and we can see that the home was furnished, and it was actually a very comfortable home for them. I'm sure the individuals that built it, and they probably enjoyed it for a few years. And as we start to peek upstairs, we can see that the home was moved in before it was finished, that the windows and doors were not trimmed out, and as we go upstairs, we'll find that the paneling wasn't put up. As we go back into the back here, you can see that the kitchen is down home. It's cute and it's quaint, and you can see that the ceilings are falling in. They're just basically some sheathing that was put up in the top there. There's a good place to put the lawnmower. And here you can see that the windows are not trimmed out. I'm sure that this home was enjoyed for quite a few years, but now just left abandoned. And it's for sale on the market for less than what the price of lots are in this subdivision. And here you can see the upstairs is completely left unfinished. I find that a lot of times when people move into a house that's unfinished, that they never get around to actually finishing the structure. And here we have the next house, and again, this is right across the street, probably 200 feet away, and you can see that deck was a big emphasis of theirs to take in the views, and I can fully appreciate that. The house, it looks rather flat in pitch, And when we get up close, we can see once again that it's just built with a pressure-treated foundation. But now the home, the life expectancy of pressure-treated wood is typically 30 to 40 years, and these houses are clearly older than that, meaning that someone needs to crawl up underneath the house and replace the foundation. Not a job I'd like to take, for sure. And here we get up around back, and we can see the outcome of building a flat pitched roof. When one builds a pitched roof that's shallow in its pitch, it's the one kind of shingles you do not want to put on it is asphalt shingles. A metal roof would have been a much better option. And here we are peeking in, and there's the kitchen down at the end. You can see that the well lit down there, and that's because there's no roof over top of it. The end result, the final result, was that the owners of those two homes now have a challenging structures, challenging properties that they need to dispose of. All of the work, all of the money they put into building a home has been lost. That they're actually selling their properties for less than what the price of the land is worth below them. Chances are they will stay on the market for a good while till someone discovers these properties and is willing to undertake the cleanup of someone else's mess. In the meanwhile, they are an eyesore to neighbors. They're hurting surrounding properties. They're a place for vermin to live in. They're just a mess. And so when we begin the construction of our own home, it's so easy to get caught in the trap of being cheap, of trying to get through the process of thinking that what we will build will be precious. But if you just focus on it being cheap and quick done, then you're going to end up disappointed at some point in the future greatly. And so the takeaway from this, and I'd be interested in any comments or postings that you might have, please share below this video. But the one takeaway that I would offer you is that when you begin the construction of your home, first of all, pick a timeless design, one that's proven to last. When you start the construction of your home, the first phase of it is the most critical phase of it, the foundation of it, that the precedence you set, the quality of construction you start with, and your foundation is going to be reflected throughout your house. And then do your best to stick with quality things that you know will endure, that will last for a long time, that won't fail. Now, fortunately, there was a third home within this grouping, one that shows us the positive aspects of building a home, the features that we should strive to achieve. It has a solid masonry foundation underneath it. It has real wood siding. It was built in a classic, timeless style. And it has a nice roof pitch on it to properly shed the weather. This home, if it was neglected for years, would still stand strong. It would not go into such disrepair so quickly, and it would be valued by future generations who would take care of it. This is more of an example of what we're after. Now, I did not build this home. I do not know who built the home, and typically I try to strive for even higher quality, a stone foundation, a stone chimney, and a metal roof on it. But nonetheless, this shows an example of if an individual is after a cost-effective home for as low as possible, without sacrificing quality and durability, and one that will not prove to be a candidate for the landfill in the future. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on Handmade House TV. I really appreciate it. I hope that you got something from this, and I hope that you avoid this trap that I have seen hundreds fall into. I'd like to thank 5 more members of the Handmade House Guild: Trevor Hart, Jason and Rachel Bache, Daruz Asipka, Greg McLaughlin, and Kevin Moore. Thank you so much for joining us here within the Handmade House Guild, and I look forward to seeing all of you next time on Handmade House TV. You take care.